Hello happy crocheters, this is Lindsay from windingrowcrochet.com and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cute apron. For this project we're going to be using two different colors of worsted weight or size 4 cotton yarn. I'm going to be showing you how to make two different sizes. For the adult size you're going to need 2 skeins of both colors, and for the small child size you're going to need 1 skein of both of your colors. As you can see, this is a size 4 medium weight cotton yarn. We will also be using an I 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, scissors, and a yarn needle. To get started, we are going to make a slip knot and chain 3. We are going to be making a half circle for the skirt of our apron. Now we will double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. We're going to continue double crocheting into that 3rd chain until we have a total of 6 double crochet. I do not count my turning chain as a stitch in this pattern. After completing our 6 double crochets, we are done with row 1. I'm going to chain 1. And what I like to do is chain 1 and pull up just a little bit on my loop. I use this instead of a turning chain. Now I'm going to work 2 double crochets in each stitch of row 1. So row 1 had a total of 6 double crochets. We're going to increase in each stitch of row 1 for a total of 12 double crochets. In this pattern, I'm going to show you me actually making the child size, but I'll provide you the instructions for the adult size as well. Once we've worked an increase in every stitch in row 1 and we have a total of 12 double crochets, we will be done with row 2. Starting with the next row, you will notice a pattern as we increase, and that is going to be important for being able to complete your skirt. So again, I chained 1 and pulled up. For this row, our stitch pattern is going to be double crochet into the 1st stitch and then increase in the following stitch. Then we just repeat this. You're going to double crochet in the next stitch and increase in the following stitch. So 1 double crochet and 1 increase. And you'll repeat this for a total of 6 times, working all the way around our half circle. You'll have a total of 6 increases, and your stitch count will be 18 double crochets for this row. As we complete row 3, we are going to chain 1, turn, pull up on your loop a little bit. And for this row, our stitch pattern is going to be double crochet in the first 2 stitches and then increase. So last row was double crochet in 1 stitch and increase. This row we're going to double crochet in 2 stitches and then we'll increase. And you'll repeat this stitch pattern a total of 6 times, and that will take you all the way across row 4. And leave you with a total of 24 stitches. We've completed row 4 and we're moving right along to row 5. Again, row 4 was 2 double crochet and an increase. Row 3 was 1 double crochet then an increase. As we move along, you're going to chain 1, pull up on that loop and turn, and you shouldn't be surprised that we're going to work into 3 double crochets and then increase. What is happening is we're working 1 more double crochet between the increases of each row. So I'm going to double crochet into the first 3 stitches and then work an increase or 2 double crochet into the 4th stitch. And I'm just going to take that pattern and repeat it 6 times all the way around our half circle. So here is row 5 completed. Remember, it was 3 double crochets and then an increase. Now for row 6, we're going to chain 1, turn and pull up. We're going to double crochet into the first 4 stitches and increase in the following stitch. One, 2, 3, 4 double crochets and then an increase. And again, we're just going to take that and repeat it a total of 6 times until we make it all the way around our half circle. Just to review, we worked 6 double crochets in row 1, increased in every row in row 2. Row 3, we worked 1 double crochet and increased. 4 was 2 double crochets and an increase. Row 5 was 3 double crochets and an increase. And row 6 was 4 double crochets, then increased. So from here, I'm hoping you're able to understand the pattern and how we are working 1 additional double crochet in between the increases for every row. To continue from here, you would chain 1 or 2 depending on how you like to do your chain, and for row 7 you would just work 5 double crochets and increase and repeat that around. Then you would turn your work, chain 1 or 2, work 6 double crochets and an increase and repeat that 6 times for row 8, and continue this pattern throughout all your rows until you have a total of 14 rows for the child size pattern, for the small child size pattern. If you are making an adult size pattern, you would need to continue working these increases, working 6 increases every row until you had a total of 23 rows. So here I have the child size completed. I have a total of 14 rows completed. The last row has 84 double crochet. And now we are going to go ahead and add the ruffle. So I am going to undo half of my last stitch so that I can change colors by yarning over and completing the stitch with the new color. I am not going to fasten off. We are going to use this yarn later, so please just bear with it for now. I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work, and for this row I am going to work an increase or 2 double crochets in the same stitch in every stitch across. Keep in mind the pattern and the instructions for the adult size is exactly the same as here. You're simply going to work 2 double crochet in every stitch across. You'll just simply have more stitches to work into. So at the end of this row, you will have double the stitch count that you had previously in the previous row. So I've made it to the end of Ruffle Row 1. For the skirt, I'm just going to finish my last stitch. You're going to see how it's going to be very kind of wavy, like a ruffle should. I'm going to chain 1 and pull up. And for our Ruffle Row 2, 3, and 4, we are just going to double crochet in each stitch across. No more increases, just a simple double crochet in each stitch across. For the small child size, you are only going to work 2 rows that are double crocheted in each stitch across, so your increase row and then your 2 normal rows. For the adult size, to have a slightly larger ruffle, you'll work your row 1 and then you'll repeat Ruffle Row 2 for the next 3 rows. So again, you have your increase ruffle row and then 2 additional rows for the child size, and for the adult size you have that increase row and then 3 additional rows for the adult size. So I've just completed the second row. I'm going to chain 2 and turn, and I apologize for my inconsistency on this turning chain, but I'm just going to double crochet in every stitch across. I am fully aware I'm chaining 1 sometimes, chaining 2 other times. It really doesn't matter. It is completely up to you. Both methods work as long as you understand that I'm not counting my turning chain as a stitch. So here I have completed row 3, And since I'm working a child size, I am done with that ruffle for right now, but I am going to leave the yarn attached. Instead, if you can look at the last stitches of my purple yarn, you may see that those stitches are getting really spread out from all of the increases that we've done. So what I'm going to do is insert my hook into the first stitch and pull up that yarn in that we did not fasten off. We're going to be working a surface slip stitch in the top of this row in order to reduce those big gaps that are in the last row of our purple yarn. So I'm just going to go into the next stitch. On the back of my work, I am yarning over and pulling up a loop and pulling it through the loop on my hook. This is called a surface slip stitch. You want to keep a steady tension, not too tight, but also not too loose, because we do want to tighten up these stitches a little bit. You can see the surface slip stitch is going to make those stitches look like all the other rows. So continue repeating your surface slip stitch throughout the entire row. Here I have completed my row of slip stitches, and you can see how it's pulled all those stitches back together and given us a nice little decorative line on our apron. At this point, you can fasten off your purple yarn. We're going to use it later, but not for the next few rows. You may also notice as this makes your ruffles look a lot more ruffly. So I'm just going to fasten that off, yarn over, and pull the loop through the loop on my hook. Now we are going to move back to our white yarn. For the white yarn, we are going to single crochet along the edge of our stitches. We're going to do this so that we have a place to work our waistband or our waist tie into. So to do this, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to work 2 single crochets into the side of each stitch. So I'm finding my next stitch and I'm going to work 2 single crochets into the side of each stitch. And we're going to do this all the way down our project. This is a great way to clean up the edge of a crochet project, but in this case it's just going to give us a foundation to work our waist tie into. So just continue repeating this all the way down your project. Once again, the adult pattern is exactly the same. You'll simply have more stitches to work into. When you complete your edging row, the next step is to fasten off. We're still going to be using this color, but we do need to fasten off at this point because we will be extending the next row. So you will want to clip your yarn, yarn over, and pull that yarn to the last loop on your hook to fasten off. Now we are going to move back to the other side of our apron. And to extend this so we have a nice long waist tie, you are going to make a new slip knot, insert your hook, and make a chain. For the small child size, you are going to chain 80, but if you are making the adult size, you will need to chain 115. When your chain is complete, we are not done with this row yet. Instead, we are going to work a single crochet into the first stitch of our edging row. And from here, we are going to single crochet across the top of the edging row. So this apron is worked all in one piece. There's no sewing except for the pockets later on. So just single crochet across. When you reach the very end, again, we are not done yet. We are going to make one more chain to extend this row. Again, if you're making the small child size, you will chain 82. If you're making the adult size, you will chain 117. So here I've completed my chain of 82 for the child size, and now I'm going to do waist tie row 2. I'm going to find the third chain from my hook, and I'm going to double crochet in that third chain. Then I'm going to double crochet in every chain until I reach my stitches. Now I'm simply going to double crochet in every stitch across. This is just going to thicken up our waist tie and make it a little bit more durable. When you make it to the end of your stitches, now we will just work a double crochet in every chain until the very end of the row. Once you work all the way down the chain, we can go ahead and fasten off. And that gives us a very nice long waist tie. This waist tie is very easy to adjust, as I do have it designed to be tied in the front for most sizes. This is the bottom of our apron, and if you like this the way it is, you can just add pockets and be done. Or you can move along and we will make the bodice for the top. To work the bodice, for the child size, we are going to find the center 32 stitches, or for the adult size, the center 38 stitches to work into. You can see that I have marked one side of my 32 stitches with my hook. So keeping that stitch marked, I'm going to pull out my hook, insert it into the loop I've made with a slip knot on my yarn, pull that tight, and then I'm going to work what they call a standing double crochet into this first stitch. So I've yarned over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, holding my yarn in to make sure nothing gets untwisted, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's how to make a standing double crochet. Now that I've worked my first stitch, I am going to double crochet into the next 31 stitches. If you are working the adult size, you would be doing the exact same thing, except for you would be working 38 stitches into the center 38 stitches of the apron. So you're just making it a little wider. Once you've worked 32 or 38 stitches, you're simply going to stop and leave the rest of the stitches left unworked. I am going to chain 1 and turn, pull up on my loop, and then simply double crochet in every stitch across. For the child size, I am going to continue repeating bodice row 2 until I have a total of 8 rows. For the adult size, I would continue repeating bodice row 2 until I have a total of 15 rows. These are just simple rows where we're going to double crochet in every stitch across. I've completed row 2, so to repeat row 2, I'm just going to chain 1 and turn, gently pull up on my loop, and then double crochet in every stitch across. Once you've completed the 8 rows for the child size or the 15 rows for the adult size, we are going to change our yarn color. To do this, I'm just going to yarn over with my new color and complete my last stitch using the new yarn color. Do not fasten off your main color yarn, in this case my purple, we will use it for another slip stitch row. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to make another ruffle at the top of this bodice. We're going to start by double crocheting into the first stitch. Then we are going to work 2 double crochet or an increase in every stitch across until we reach the very last stitch. This will give us another little ruffle at the top of our bodice. When we reach the very last stitch, we're just going to work 1 double crochet into the last stitch. And there is your ruffle. So we can fasten off the white yarn. Pull that tight, and then we're going to come right back to our purple yarn that we left attached, and we are going to work another row of surface slip stitch, just like we did at the bottom. So insert your hook into the first stitch and pull up that yarn, insert it into the next stitch and pull up a loop, pull that loop through the loop on your hook, go to the next, pull up a loop, pull it through the loop on your hook, and repeat this all the way across. It'll make the stitches look nicer in that top row, as well as it will gather up the ruffle a little bit better, making it look a little nicer as well. Once you make it all the way across, then we can just fasten off our purple yarn. Yarn over and pull that yarn in through the last loop. The next thing we are going to make is the neck strap. It's going to go along the top here. Take your white yarn and make a slip knot. Insert your hook and begin chaining. For the small child size, you can chain 50. For the adult size, you can chain 72, or you can simply chain however many you think you need to make the neck strap fit you. Once your chain is complete, you will simply double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and then double crochet in every chain across. And that is all you will need to do for your neck strap. When you reach the end of your chain, just fasten off, making sure to leave at least enough yarn on this end to sew to the top of our neck strap or to the top of our apron. Go ahead and fasten off. And then what we will do is we will sew this in place right behind our ruffle. When you sew it in place, just make sure that you don't twist your neck strap, and you'll simply sew it in place on both sides of the top of the bodice. And that will complete the base of our apron. Now, just to finish up, we're going to add a few pockets to the front of the apron because everybody loves pockets. For the child size, we are simply going to make 1 large pocket. So make a slip knot and insert your hook, and you are going to chain 28 for the child size. For the adult size, we're going to make 2 pockets. So for the adult size, you would chain 18, but when you complete your first pocket, you would make a second pocket. Once you've completed your chain, we're simply going to double crochet in the third chain from the hook and every chain across. I'm working in the back bumps, but you're always welcome to work into the chain any way that you like. When you make it all the way across, we're going to chain 1 and turn and begin row 2. For row 2, we're just going to double crochet in each stitch across, and we're going to continue repeating row 2 until we have a total of 5 rows for the child size pocket or 8 rows for the adult size pocket. So I've made it to the end of row 2, and once again I'm just going to chain 1 and turn and double crochet in every stitch across. So here I've completed a total of 5 rows, and the only thing I'm going to do is change colors at the end of this row. If you are making the adult pocket, you would continue until you have a total of 8 rows, and then change colors for your final row. This last row is going to be exactly like the other rows. We're just going to chain 1 and turn, and then double crochet in every stitch across. It just gives us a nice little extra detail by changing the last row to the white. So here we have the completed child size pocket. I'm just going to fasten off my yarn, and then we are simply going to sew it to the front of our apron. When you fasten off your purple yarn, make sure to leave yourself a large amount so that you can sew. I like to run the yarn along the edge that I'm going to be sewing and then double that length. That seems to work pretty well for me. So we're just simply going to use this purple yarn to sew this pocket to the front of our apron. Here I have the child size pocket sewn in place. I sewed around the edges, and then I also sewed a seam right in the center so that it's actually 2 pockets. For the adult size, you would be making 2 pockets and you would just sew them where you like on the front of the apron. So here you have our finished apron. It is made so it can fit many different sizes of children and adults. You can simply tie the tie in the front of the apron or the back depending on the size of the person that is wearing it. And I really hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have any questions at all, please ask them in the comments below. I am always here to help. And as always, thank you so much for watching.